Right, this is a pretty hard gig to introduce these people one after another here tonight, but I'll pull it together as best I can. And I've been asked next to introduce Gary Foley, who kicked this place off, Boomali, with a year's supply of money in order to pay the rent for a year. So without any further introduction, Gary Foley.
Thank you, brother. I'd like to pay my respects to the people whose land I'm on here today. I'd also like to pay my respects to all the old fellas here today, all the old people here today. We're still here, that's good. The sad thing is too many of our mob, our generation, aren't anymore. As you can see, I may have lived in Sydney a long time ago, but I'm now from Melbourne, folks. You can tell because I'm dressed in black. And as somebody from Melbourne, I arrived in town today. I was really pleased to be invited to be here for this particular event tonight. Arrived in Melbourne today, went straight to Redfern and go and check up on a few old friends. And 15 seconds after I arrived in Regent Street, the coppers shoot somebody. Oh, isn't it something?
Welcome home.
Exactly. And then tonight, I'm sort of, for the first time ever in Sydney, I'm camped in a flash place out Randwick Way. And so I got in a taxi. This is my second aspect of my welcome to Sydney. I get in a Sydney taxi with a Sydney taxi driver, and I made the mistake of saying to him, or mentioning that I was from Melbourne. I then got taken on one of the most circuitous tours of this town that I've had for at least 40 years, and it cost me $64 to get here, for crying out loud. So folks, this has been my welcome to Sydney so far. I'll be leaving as soon as possible tomorrow. No, to be serious, folks, it's a particular honour to be here, and it's not true that I gave money to help kick this place off. It was in actual fact the revolutionary administration of the Aboriginal Arts Board under Chicka Dixon, especially, the chairperson. I mean, I couldn't have organised anything for Boomali at that time without Chicka giving the yay. And the other thing about it, it wasn't that much money, folks. It was only a tiny amount of money, but the reason, I think one of the things that impressed people at Boomali at the time was that the ease by which they got it. And it's a really interesting thing because the third aspect of my welcome to Sydney today, I bought the Sydney Morning Herald. And on page 3, there's an article about my old brother, the person who inspired me to get into black theatre 40 years ago, Jack Charles. Jack Charles, one of the legends of black theatre, one of the legends of theatre in Australia, one of the greatest Aboriginal actors of all time, is being told he's got to, provide evidence of his Aboriginality to the Aboriginal Arts Board. Now, that didn't particularly surprise me because these days, the bean counters and the accountants have taken over the administration of almost everything, including the university that I work for, and we won't go there. But the thing about, I was really surprised that the equivalent of what I was once, the director of the Aboriginal Arts Board, and she's a good sister of mine, and I'm not really having a go at her, but I was surprised to hear or see in the paper the director of the Aboriginal Arts Board say there can be no exceptions for anyone under this rule of establishing Aboriginality. Now, I can understand that in some ways, but there has to be exceptions. I mean, if those sort of rules applied 25 years ago, we wouldn't be standing here today, folks. The reason that Boomali was able to get the Aboriginal Arts Board to give them a grant and provide them with that initial bit of support, which, like I said, wasn't much, but it was obviously enough to do this. But the reason we were able to do that is because when me and Chicka Dixon took over the Aboriginal Arts Board, I was the first Aboriginal director of the Aboriginal Arts Board after 10 years of its existence. Chicka had worked in the Aboriginal Arts Board in the early days but was disillusioned because he was under a white administration who dictated the way in which he'd done things. The first thing that me and Chicka did when we walked into the Aboriginal Arts Board, we changed the rules to suit the community. We were applying rules that enabled, that facilitated, made it easier for ordinary community people of any sort in any part of Australia to make application to the Aboriginal Arts Board, put their argument in whatever way they wanted to, and they'd be responded to not only, without going through a list of rules this long and without going through an application form that's thicker than the Bible. We created an administration that was sensitive to the needs of Aboriginal people rather than the needs of the Australia Council. And so I think it's really tragic in a way, and it's an interesting that the two moments coincided, that an exposure of the way in which the Aboriginal Arts Board has become so bureaucratised in just 25 years compared to what it was 25 years ago is a really extraordinary thing. And I think it's important that we pay tribute to the people like Chicka Dixon, the chairman of the board, who was really the key person in ensuring that Boomali got that initial grant, but also the other members of the board at the time, people like Kath Walker, Than Koopy, many others who are no longer with us, And these are the people who really need to be remembered, but not just remembered as people. Remember the ideas that they had, the policies that they developed, and the reasons behind that. We came from an era, there are some people in this room who were around in the old Black Power days in Redfern, and in those days what we were talking about with Black Power was Aboriginal control of Aboriginal affairs, and that Aboriginal control in the Arts Board translated into creating possibilities, and such as Boomali. When the Boomali mob come and put their case to us, both Chicka, I went and talked to Chicka about it, we could see the logic, the merit and the need. And rather than, spend hours and hours getting them to fill in forms and cross the E's and T's and dot the I's and get a dozen certificates of Aboriginality and all this sort of stuff and get them to establish their credentials as artists and anything, we knew some of these people and we knew they had talent, and the vision that they had we thought was worthy of support. We supported it. And so in another sense it's very moving for me to be here today, because in a sense I've got to be careful about the words I use here. I was one of a group of people who were in some small way partly responsible for the birth of Boomali. and so it's really amazing to be here 25 years later to see what that little mingy little amount of money that we gave to give them a kick-off, how they took that and developed into what they become. And the amazing and remarkable artists who've been part of this cooperative over the years. And I know you've had your ups and downs, but you're still here, and that's what's really important. And you're not only still here, the evidence is all around these walls of just how deadly yous really are, both as individual artists and as a collectively, So this is a magnificent occasion, and as you wouldn't be here, all you people, if you didn't already know that. And so all I'll say is, once again, let's remember all of those who are no longer with us, both the Arts Board crew who made it possible, but also, as my Auntie Femi here said, all of the artists who are part of this, and all the people who've been part of this. A genuine collective effort. What more can I say, folks? And I think I'm supposed to say, I declare this magnificent exhibition open. Thank you.